comments on there as well. Our guest this morning is Dr. Frank Udeh. He's the CEO, Mastervet Services Nigeria, and we're speaking about the cost of Nigerian livestock. Good morning, Dr. Udeh, and welcome to Business Express.
Good morning. Thank you. My pleasure.
Conversation about how expensive things have gotten over the last month, over the last year, really. But it does seem like in the past few days, a lot of the conversation has been about livestock, which is something that the Muslim faithful definitely use for their celebrations around this time. Dr. Udeh, what would you attribute to the high cost of rams this year?
Very quickly, like to wish Muslim brothers and sisters Baraka de Salah. As you know, this is a ceremony that is quite religious, quite respected, both in the Christian and the Muslim world, because, I mean, this is a statue put across by the Almighty himself, where, you know, rams are sacrificed in replacement for the son from Abraham, you know. So going back to your question, now we all know, we are all in the system, and we see the challenges that have arisen from high cost in transportation. We've seen challenges with the insecurity, and so of course, quite recently is the issue of the minimum wage, and you'll find out that, you know, the real farmers themselves, the herders who try to move these animals to the market, have to go through a lot of hurdles to get the animal to the market. And of course, you see with our road infrastructure, or road infrastructure, it's really difficult considering the cost of, you know, even the diesel that these trailers are used to haul the animals to the market. This has really brought about the high cost, you know, of transportation. Of course, you know, in less than about a year ago or more, diesel was selling for maybe about 300, 200. Now it's over 1,000, you know, per liter of diesel. You know, so yes, this has, of course, had its backlash on transportation of these animals to the market. And of course, you know, middlemen will always take advantage of the situation to get to the people. And of course, the economic factor of demand and supply, you know, where you will see that, of course, you know, the huge number of Muslims in Nigeria, all, you know, looking for the opportunities to obey the statutes of the law of Islam. So yes, everybody will crowd to the market, and of course, you will have panic. And of course, by the time you come to the average seller, he wants to take advantage of the customers. So, you know, basically, but majorly, I would say 70% of this cost is attributed to the high cost of diesel.
All right, let's talk about the feed for livestock. Do there certain components that perhaps need to be imported into the country?
Well, actually, there are some, like the micro ingredients, you know, are imported. The macro ingredients are, of course, we produce a bit of it here, but you see, coincidentally, maize, soya, all these things are what both animals and humans consume. So you will find out that, you know, there's competition. And don't forget, like I said earlier on, the issue of insecurity has made it impossible for our northern brothers to produce this maize because they can't get to their farms. You know, so this makes even the availability of raw materials for feeding these animals difficult. And of course, you know, the issue of foreign exchange, importing of all these macro ingredients is out of the box. So what we've tried to do, or what we've tried to look at, is the cost. You know, even the poultry industry is hard hit, you know, because they use majorly these macro ingredients, maize, soya, groundnut cake, and all of it. Now, these are not readily available. In the past years, we could go to our farms and produce and supply. Right now, the farmers are not there. You heard the situations where the farmers are being arrested or being taken as kidnapped when they go to their farms. So this has prevented farmers from, going to the market, producing feed. So this has, of course, by the time you have high demand for this feed in the market, and yet the raw materials to produce are not available, you find out that the prices will shoot up and skyrocket, as the case may be. So this is being attributed to the high cost. Now, for the issue of
Speaking
importation,
with
yes,
Dr. Frank Udeh. Dr. Frank is
yes,
the CEO of Mastervet Services. And we're speaking about the high cost or the rising cost of Nigerian livestock. And if you've got a question or a comment, this is the time. The WhatsApp number is 0809 4440981. You can also tweet at smooth981. And we're streaming live, so you can actually catch the live stream up on our YouTube channel as well. It's Smooth981, and don't forget to subscribe. Dr. Ume, as a vet, has the cost of care for animals also increased, like a lot of other things?
certainly. The cost of animal care, of course, we as vets live in this same country. We send our children to school. We also go to the market to buy things we feed. And of course, in this kind of scenario, if you are going to render services to your herders, at previously at lower cost, this would no longer arise because you will also transfer some of these added costs that you're also experiencing to your practice. So yes, in a way, it has affected us. Even the cost of drugs, vaccines that we use for our animals are imported. And so sometimes this has tremendously affected the price of medications, and so obviously our cost of doing business too has gone up, and this goes back to the farmers too, and at the end of the day, back to the consumer. So yes, it has.
Now, I'm curious about this though. Would you, when it comes to a person who is looking to go into the business of livestock or crops, would you advise them to actually do it at this point?
Yes. Now, the thing I see with the kind of agriculture we do is not for us. Some of us that are, who go beyond just the secular schooling thing to go deeper. We've seen that the way we practice our agriculture is not in the form of agribusiness. We don't do our agriculture in the way that, is enterprising. A lot of people go into agriculture just looking at it that, oh, there's money I can cash in, it's something I can do over 1 month and cash out. No, agriculture is a thing that takes time. And so, but looking at the scenario right now in the country, I mean, you can play back. Imagine that you in the studio right now had a year ago gotten a ram, and fattened it to sell now. Let's assume you bought 10. You probably bought them at 25, 30,000 naira. And today, ram goes for between 300 and 500 in Lagos. So, I mean, you answered that. Would that be a good cash in? Certainly, yes. This is the time, I would advise people to go into agribusiness with the caveat that we should really try to do proper due diligence on areas on which we can focus on and how we can benefit from it. But certainly, it is the next gold mine.
All right, let's look at a message coming through. And this is from Tayo via WhatsApp. Tayo says, farmers have been frustrated and abandoned after bearing the pain and cost of planting. We have herder conflicts or herder farmer conflicts and other issues driving down supply. It's quite a shame. All right. 0809 That's the WhatsApp number that you can send your messages to. Now, the government has planned on releasing grains from the strategic reserves into the markets. Do you think that this would help slow down these price increases, Dr. Udeh?
Yes and no. You see, the thing about um, increase, in food prices in our own business, it's not something that could be nipped in the bud in less than a month. You will agree with me that, how do you, even if you release maize, today, how does that translate to bringing down food cost? Because you see, it's mocked up, immediately gets into circulation, and sometimes these things are not released. Government has good intention, but the problem is where it's going to go, who is going to receive it, how is it going to fizzle down to the average farmer. This has been done in the past. Uh, how much of reserve and how much of demand are we looking at that the government can cushion up? So these are issues that I believe that policymakers and stakeholders should actually look at deeply. But I think in the interim, yes, it could drive down the prices of foodstuff in the market.
All right, so this is just one that actually could. So ultimately, Joe, overall, what would actually need to be done to continually push these prices down in the country?
Um, in the immediate, this is part of it. Releasing grains to the stakeholders. But I would say, in this way, do it differently. In the sense of sit with stakeholders. I mean, when I mean stakeholders, for example, feed millers. In the poultry industry, this is where it is worst hit because 70%, 80% of micronutrients or ingredients, maize and soya, is being used in feed production. Right now, a bag of poultry feed goes 25 kg poultry feed goes between 14 and 20,000 naira for a 25 kg bag of feed. That is huge. Now, if government were to do releasing from reserves, I would advise that it goes to the stakeholders, to the feed millers, those who are in the process of producing this feed. Now, if they can actually deal with it at that level, they will bring down the cost of producing a bag of feed. Let's assume the bag of feed comes to 10,000 naira. It immediately translates to reduction in cost of production for the farmer. And certainly the price of egg, which you have roaming around between 4,000 and 4,200, will come down. I mean, like in April or May, a crate of egg was going between 3,000 and 3,002. Now it has gone to 4,000 and it's on the higher, it's on the pedestrian of going up. So I think that government needs to intervene, yes, but it's not something that will be dealt with. Now, going back to transportation, which is the major factor we speak about, I would expect that government should be looking at, in the long run, having rail move some of this livestock from the north to the south, as the case may be. And of course, the cost of transportation will drastically come down. So it's a short, there should be a short term, a medium term, and a long term plan for this to happen. But it's not a quick fix thing.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Frank Udeh, for being on the show with us this morning.
Thank you.
That is it for Business Express. Thanks for your messages. Thanks for listening. And do stay with us. There's a lot more to come on the Smooth Breakfast.